do thank you for your prayers. Y'all had to be some praying people.
I know that's right.
And again, I'm back. Willing to work. I have a slight cold that I picked up in the hospital, and I didn't tell them about it. 'Cause I was eager to get out. But again, thank all of you for your prayers. Thank you for your support. Look forward to working with you. 208, 209, 210, 211.
All right.
And again, thank all of you again.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I have Mr. Epperson.
Commissioner Brown, you left too soon. I'd like to let you know that Steeplechase Baptist Church, Reverend Gregory Kirby, we really prayed hard for you. We prayed hard. I know you could feel it all the way in the hospital. About a 30-minute prayer on you that Sunday.
Well, my answer to that is that the city of Shreveport are some praying people. I thank all of you for your prayers and your support.
Commissioner Brown, I probably worried more than I prayed.
You too.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Don't sit down there for the word.
Wait. I would like to say that, you know, it was nothing short of a miracle from God. A lot of times people think miracles happen in a long time ago, but God gave, I'll say, us a miracle in having you to return. And I knew you were going to be all right when I came to see you and you was fussing. So, so that was kind of.
That's because you were there.
No, he was fussing. I was trying to help out his wife, keep him calm down there. But so welcome back.
Amen.
Thank you. And again, thank all of you. Anything else? Anything else?
Let's sit down now. He's tired.
Come on, sit down, Mr. Brown.
John might want to do praying.
Yeah. John might want to say a rosary. Father John, you call.
Oh, God. If there's one thing they can say about us, we are family. And, you know, I know the administration will pass our thoughts and prayers on to the family of the employee that we lost. And, you know, we are a family here in Caddo, so we will treat it as such. Moving on. Is anyone here to speak to the commission? If not, let's move to public hearing ordinances. Mr. Spears.
Yes, sir. You have one ordinance 4744 declares certain adjudicated property to be surplus, authorized sale of the tax interest therein.
All right. Is there anyone here to speak for this? Is there anyone here to speak against it? All right.
That concludes that public hearing.
Okay. Next, Mr. Spears.
And that same ordinance is now before you for final consideration.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner, I was speaking to call Mr. Epperson, I'm sorry. Mr. Escadade. And seconded by Commissioner McCullough. Any discussion? Mr. Thibodeau, I see you on here for discussion.
Yeah, on, I think I remember at our last meeting, property number 6, which was 20 acres in Township 18 North, Range 15. I think Mr. Jenkins had asked that be removed.
That was deleted.
It's still on this original copy, or the copy we got today. It's still on here.
Okay, I would.
So I just want to be sure we didn't include that.
So it's just a typo, Mr. Whittington?
I don't know where that copy came from, but the copy we're working off of.
We got it from our clerk.
It's been removed.
Okay. So
good,
we'll be voting on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 11.
I had my agendas mixed up. I do have a question in regards to adjudicated property in my district.
Okay.
I don't know if those of the commissioners
Well, wait a minute. Let's. I'm not through with Mr. Thibodeau, and plus we have a motion on the floor. So,
if
clarify,
on the official copy, on the official listing, property number 6 has been removed, then my amendment's unnecessary.
Okay.
It has been removed.
Okay. Okay. Discussion, Ms. McCall.
Now it's my turn. Yes, I don't know if, well, I know the newer commissioners don't remember because they weren't here at the time, but In reference to adjudicated properties, I just recall, who's now Representative Jim Morris making a request, and I remember so well being in agreement with it, that we have a listing of the applicants that are actually applying for these properties. I mean, I have occasionally requested names of applicants that are applying for these properties in my district, but I was really grateful to know that some other commissioners had the same concern. I haven't seen any listings since that request has been made, and because District 2 is noted for quite a bit of property, I would just love to know, being the representative, who these applicants are, especially having to address the 15-year lease to buys in the past. Is it possible that I could actually get a copy or a name of the applicants that are applying for these properties in District 2?
Before they go through.
Yes, sir.
That would be a question for Mr. Whittington.
Yes, ma'am, we can provide you with that. I would just give you the caveat that more often than not, the applicant does not end up with the property.
Well, I'm still interested. It's a lead.
Okay, well, I mean, we can do that, but more often than not, the original applicant. These days, there are too many people interested in this program, and what people are doing is they're not bothering with the application process. They're just waiting until we advertise in the paper. They're coming in and bringing us a deposit, and they go to the bid, and they end up shooting people out. So, and we don't know that. You know, we don't know that at the time y'all vote.
I just know that, there was an agreement to provide that information, and it's never been provided, so.
We can do that. I don't recall that agreement, but we can do that.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Whittington. Mr. Thibodeau, I still have you up here, but is that supposed to be?
Yeah, I was just informed that property was originally property number 7 on the last listing, but I did not remember 2 properties that were 20 acres. I only remembered 1. But if this is the correct one, then there's no problem.
Yeah.
I think, Mr. Jenkins, didn't you say that it had been redeemed?
Correct.
All right, so if it's been redeemed, it's not going to be on the list anyway.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Whittington's out there shaking his head saying it's okay.
Okay, we're good then.
All right, so I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, please vote. And that passes. Next, Mr. Spears.
Sir, I have all these ordinances for introduction by title. I guess I really need to read them for the TV audience. Ordinance 4747 amends your budget, economic development fund budget in the amount of $150,000 for a grant to the LSU from the LSU Business Center. Ordinance 4748 amends your Parks and Recreation Funds budget $26,700 for a donation received to help control giant salvinia. Ordinance 4749 amends your Parks and Recreation Fund budget for $10,000 for a grant from National Association of Counties. Ordinance 4750 amends your Fleet Services Fund budget for a grant from FEMA for 2008. Ordinance 4751 declares certain adjudicated property to be surplus and authorizes the parish administrator to sell tax interest therein. Ordinance 4752 authorizes the administrator to execute active donation of adjudicated property to Habitat for Humanity. Ordinance 4753 amends your Code of Ordinances regarding corporate domicile of Pine Hill Waterworks District Number 8. Ordinance 4755 amends your Code of Ordinances to delineate additional grounds for denial of applications for beer and liquor licenses. Ordinance 4756 amends your Code of Ordinances relative to areas outside the Shreveport Metropolitan Planning Area.
Okay. And work session minutes, there is none.
No, sir.
Resolutions?
Resolution number 4 authorizes the administrator to request the Louisiana Department of Natural Resources State Mineral Board to lease certain mineral interests owned by the parish.
Moved.
Been moved by Commissioner Escudate, seconded by Mr. Thibodeau. And let's see here. I have 3 people to speak. I have Mr. Pearson, Mr. Everson, and Mr. Jenkins. Mr. Pearson first.
Well, I didn't want to speak on that resolution. I wanted to speak between the time, Mr.
I'm sorry. And I ran right through you. I am so sorry.
And quickly, the only thing I wanted to say is that we gave Commissioner Jenkins some bad information because he asked, could he speak on 4755? And we told him he could speak on it in the next
in the work session.
And it was open, and it's my fault because I thought about it then and I didn't mention it, and then and I had a senior moment. But when it came up, because it's only introduction by title, and the next time you'll be able to speak to it is when it comes up for final passage. So if we don't speak to them in work session, then when they come up for the introduction, then we don't get to speak to them individually. I'm sorry, that's just a point of
order. Yeah, okay, thank you. And Mr. Epperson?
Well, that was my concern. I mean, I would think that we can ask for a question because of clarification. Wouldn't you think?
I would turn to our parliamentarian.
Right, 47, 45, because that's really where I had punched the button. I wanted to.
Chair, if you should decide that we should go ahead and we've made an error and you want to entertain discussion on 4755, you're entitled to do so.
Well, and what did Commissioner Bowman used to say? Presidential privilege is what she used to say. So if it's not confusing to the record, let's go back to 4755.
You want to pass the one? We got a motion and a second. You want to pass that one?
And then go back.
And then
make a motion.
And then entertain 4755 on the new business or something like that.
Okay.
Good idea.
That's a real good idea.
Anybody wants to speak on Resolution 4?
Is there anybody at this time want to speak on Resolution 4 at this time?
Call for the question.
Question's been called. Got a second? Second by Mr. Dominic.
Without exception.
Without exception. Thank you very much. See, y'all are just good. All right. Everybody please vote. That passes. All right. So we'll go ahead and finish our resolutions. Resolution number 5.
Sure. 50% match for Land and Water Conservation Fund grant application for renovation of the restroom at Earl Williamson Park.
Moved.
Been moved by Commissioner Escadade, seconded by our Vice President, Ms. Lynch. Any discussion? If not, please vote. Now that passes. And now I will entertain a motion to go back to 4755.
So moved. Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Jenkins, second by Commissioner McCullough. Bring back up 4755 for discussion. Please vote. And that passes. And I will open the floor up to Mr. Jenkins at this time to speak.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. I had some concerns about ordinance number 4755. My concerns are grounded basically twofold. One is I don't want a scenario where we're making it more difficult for people to do business in Caddo Parish than in some of our neighboring parishes. And this is this ordinance appears to be adding some requirements as to maybe not adding requirements. That may be a bad choice of word. It seems to me like it is giving more leeway for a person's liquor or beer license to be denied, more than what is presently established. So one question I got about it is, are we asking more persons, or are we going to be making it more difficult for people to establish businesses or maintain businesses here in Caddo Parish as opposed to some of our neighboring parishes? Second issue I had with this is this ordinance appears to want to deal with areas outside of the city limits of Shreveport. So once again, are we putting more on people who are trying to establish or maintain business in the outlying areas than we're doing on people who are within the city limits of Shreveport? Those are my concerns, and I'd like if someone can address it. I'd like for them to address it. I understand that the ordinance is being put forth by Commissioner Smith. I did have a brief discussion with him about it off the record, and I believe our legal department may have drafted it. I think I had a brief discussion with our parish attorney about this ordinance. So if either of them want to give us some history or some discussion on it, I'd appreciate it right now.
Okay. Right now, we have Commissioner Escadade and Commissioner Smith on the board to speak, so let's go ahead and get all those. Mr. Escadade?
If I may, I have one question and a comment, and legal may not know the answer to this. How far, or if not, do the city's laws and ordinances governing this go into the parish? Is it in the MPC barrier, or is it just at the city parish limits? Do you have any idea?
Yes, sir. The city's ordinances end at the city limits.
At the city limits. So what we're talking about is everything outside of the city then, parish-wide. That answers my question. I'm like Mr. Jenkins, not to pick on anybody, have some concerns. This is another matter that probably should have went to Rural Commissioners Committee, since it involves every commissioner who doesn't have city property to hammer this out. So anyway, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Smith?
This discussion on this ordinance came about, as you probably know, when the noise ordinance occurred. Parish Attorney Grubbs and I, and David, I can't remember, you were there too.
I was there too.
Met with the sheriff and his attorney and discussed ways to control future problems, not necessarily in the rural area, but mostly in the rural area, because you can have things develop out there that sometimes is not really receptive to the community. So I think it would be right to say, Charles, that it's really an agreement in that group. This would be another way to not stop anybody from doing business, Mr. Jenkins, but it'd be another way to have some say on the front end of what was really taking place, particularly in the parish, and what some method of controlling traffic, problems in the neighborhood. And Mr. Grubbs probably can say it better than I can, but that's basically how this came about.
Okay. Mr. Grubbs, and then I'm up there, and so Mr. Grubbs, go ahead.
If I could address Mr. Jenkins' question for just a minute. I went and pulled the city ordinance, which I have here in front of me, and they have as additional grounds for deciding whether to issue licenses or not zoning factors that are in the in the alcoholic beverage section. They basically say that you can't get an alcoholic beverage permit except when it's properly zoned for that use. The criteria that are in this proposed ordinance to you, I would submit, are basically land use criteria. I mean, it's the kind of things that y'all review every day when you're looking at zoning cases: traffic, congested traffic, stress on the existing infrastructure, compatibility with the neighborhood and stuff like that. So this is, I mean, to answer your question directly, Mr. Jenkins, I don't think that this would impose any more restrictions on people that want to engage in this type of business in the parish than is already in the city, because these folks don't have to get zoning. Although, again, to really gum things up, we do have the 5 Mile Donut where people do have to get zoning, but I think these factors would overlap that. I will tell y'all that this ordinance is basically verbatim an ordinance from another parish that was referred to me when I did some research, and the fellow that runs the state alcoholic beverage permit office referred me to this. And the reason I drafted the ordinance this way is frankly because this specific ordinance has recently been declared to be valid by the Louisiana Supreme Court when somebody challenged it. So not as a question of policy, but as a question of legal foundation, I think there's a legal foundation for the ordinance.
Okay. At this time, you know, I have talked to quite a few people out in the rural area, in my area, and plus Mr. Smith's area, because some of my customers that I deal with live out in his district. And this doesn't have to deal with his district, my district. It's outside the city limits. And I've made this comment before. We have to put in place ordinances that will see us down in the future. I do not want to see Caddo Parish overrun with businesses that open up that do not have some type of ordinances to tell them what they can and cannot do out in the rural area, simply because we have major developments outside the city limits in Caddo Parish. People are building homes out here. There's subdivisions going out here. There's subdivisions already in place in North Caddo Parish, South Caddo Parish. So if we don't think outside the box now, we will be back in here in 1, 2, 3 years trying to figure out why didn't we do something now to curb the problem that could look us dead in the face. Businesses like the one that's proposed out on Colquitt Road, to me, is a danger for various reasons, whether it be traffic, whether it be emergency response, what they do. And I don't have a problem with the business itself. I'm talking about what we need to do to make sure business, residents, and parish can all coexist. And the only way we can do that is everybody knows up front what is what's legal, what is needed of that business to coexist with the residents, what the sheriff's department is looking for, stuff like that. All we need to do is make sure that an ordinance that we deal with today furthers us along down the road. And I've always said this since I've been here, we need to think outside the box to grow toward the future of 2010, 2015. So that's my take on it. I've got Mr. Epperson. Let's see, I'm sorry, Mr. Escadade, Mr. Epperson.
I agree with thinking outside the box. I'm not going to support this. I'm not going to support this simply because it seemed like there were just a couple of people thinking outside the box for all 12 of us. And if this was specific to one individual district, I would go ahead and defer to that commissioner's knowledge and assume that he knew what is best for his district. But this is parish-wide. And if it has as little effect as Mr. Grubb said, then I don't know what the necessity for it is, if it doesn't have any effect. But what I respectably want to say is, again, when we're going to pass laws, ordinances, whatever you want to call them, that affect the rights and liberties of everyone in this parish, then I think as many people on this body who are elected to protect those rights should participate in the discussion. This should have went to the Rural Commissioners Committee for discussion. I appreciate the fact that we involved the sheriff and the attorney. Last time I checked, they didn't have a vote on these things. We had no prior warning of this. And I don't like the way this is being done. And since I didn't have time to study it, I don't know what the mindset is, I don't know what the need is, and I wasn't able to be involved in the discussion, I'm not going to support it. I would hope that the maker of this motion would appreciate that other members of this body may have some input, and refer it back to committee before it comes up for final passage. Thank you.
Okay, I've got Mr. Everson.
I agree with you, Mr. Cox, on the growth for the rural areas. Don't forget West Caddo too. We got some nice places that's already stationary and coming up in that area.
Yes, sir.
Also, gentlemen, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this because I had a question, and I think we're being afforded the opportunity now to have input, and certainly we have the opportunity to support it. To discuss it, vote for it, vote against it, or amend it when that particular time comes. And I agree with you about thinking down the road too. I was looking in Sunday's paper, whereas the city of Shreveport, I believe they are contemplating certified security guards in night spots. They've been having so much trouble. A lot of stipulations. You know what that's going to do? All those for sale signs going up in these rural areas, they say, hey, we can't do it in the city, we go out in the parish. Now, some of you all may not be as young as I am, but I remember when you had a law in the city where you couldn't buy beer on Sunday.
That's right.
But do you know where we used to go to buy it on Sunday? We go to the parish. And we'd hang out, and balls would be everywhere, and you'd have fights breaking out, see what I mean? So, we need to look down the road. And when I read that article Sunday, I called Miss Frazier, and I said, Miss Frazier, had you noticed that? And she said she hadn't. I said, hey, I think we need to start watching that too, because if you're running out of one place, they're going to go somewhere else where they think they can do it.
Exactly.
And I appreciate the opportunity to, discuss this and ask for some clarification on it. And we still have time to look at it and tweak it. And I think we need to watch a deal too. I don't think there's anywhere in any bylaws or the charter anything, whereas if an individual commissioner wants to put into place some legislation, that it has to go to a certain committee. Now, of course, we're going to be cordial and courteous of our colleagues. If they have a concern about something, we're going to work together and see if we can resolve it or get some input. So I thank you for those comments.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. Mr. Pearson?
Just a general comment about the format, and I've been kind of stung with it before. Based on the way our agenda is formatted and the way our program is formatted, once something goes, we voted to go Thursday's agenda, and it's first time, and it's for introduction only, it makes it, and I'm not saying impossible, because I'm sure with enough votes you can do what you want, but it'll go against our format. Time to challenge is on Monday, and I've on our work session, and I've said this before because it's kind of caught me. The time to challenge and remove, if something wants to be removed or further studied or go into committee, Monday, and this is basically for the sake of our new commissioners, the work session is the time to catch them, and of course Commissioner Jenkins did, but we just didn't stop at that time. But that's the time to catch it and discuss it, because now this goes for final vote on 2 weeks from today, or 2 weeks from yesterday, and certainly whatever dispensation that the commission needs to make, they can make it at that time. But I'm saying that just based on the format, the work session is important, and because the things that we move onto a next agenda are it's just not an automatic deal. We need to really be on top of them, so that if we need to remove something or refer to further study, we can.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. Mr. Dominic?
We do have, we'll have another work session to talk about it, though.
Sure.
I mean, it could be removed at that time.
Well, it won't come up. It'll be on consent. The next time it comes up on work session, it'll be on consent agenda.
We can't talk about it when it's on consent agenda?
Well, you can talk about it in it, but you can't make any adjustments to it based on our program format until the Thursday.
Okay. Just kind of agree with Mr. Escaday that it'd been better if it went to a committee when it's affecting a lot of areas, but sitting there reading it, I understand the position, and I haven't looked at it that thorough, but I think I'm probably agreeable.
Okay. I'm going to defer right now to our clerk.
Well, I just want, for whatever it means to this discussion, I received a communication earlier today from our parish attorney that states that all of these ordinances that are on this agenda for introduction will not be acted upon for a month from now.
Oh.
Because we're meeting on Friday rather than a Thursday. So if that means anything to your thought processes on that.
Okay, since my parliamentarian is gone, I'm going to look back to my teacher.
What you want to do?
We would like to make a motion from the, Mr. Smith is looking to table this back to the committee of the rural commissioners. We do that now, or do we wait till?
Well, I think to follow the procedure correctly,
at our next
at the next meeting when it comes up for final passage would be the time to remove it, because if we, to refer it back, because if we start doing that now,
it's all going to mess up.
And we messed up everything. So when it comes up for final passage, then just the maker can can move to refer it back to committee or to table it or whatever.
Okay. Right now, I've got Mr. Smith, Ms. Lynch, and Mr. Lynn. So, Mr. Smith.
No, this is the second time that I think that I've brought something before the body, and I'm not quite sure why, although I don't object referring things to a committee, but then my things are basically in the rural areas, you know, and some of the rest of you have some rural areas. So do we refer everything to committees before we pass them? Although I don't object to having to justify what I am proposing, and so I understand the questions, but we can't refer everything to committees, I don't think.
Ms. Lynch.
Well, I guess my question was, even though it's not coming up for another 30 days, is there anything that would prohibit the rural commissioners to meet on a proposed ordinance?
Mr. Parliamentary.
Prior to it showing up on the agenda again.
It had been referred to committee.
I understand. Well, I think you said that it shouldn't be referred until it comes up.
I mean, the make of the
now.
Yeah, the make of the motion. I mean, the make of the resolution, the ordinance, who put it in. Certainly, anybody once it comes up for final passage, anybody can make a motion to refer it back. You know, with 7 votes, you can refer it back. But I'm just saying, there's no action to be taken on it at this point. That's all I'm saying. The action was 30 minutes, well, an hour ago. We should have, when we were in work session, could have taken action, and maybe that's...
Yes, my question is, can the chairman of the rural commissioners call a meeting to look at this issue, or to study this issue, without respect to the ordinance?
Certainly, it's his purview.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to ask our parliamentarian. The question is, while it's being passed on, it's up for discussion in a few weeks. The question is, can the rural commissioners call a meeting and discuss this while it's being brought up in 2 more weeks? And I'm getting an okay from Mr. Grubbs and an okay from a parliamentarian, so I would ask that our rural commissioners committee get together as soon as possible, get this thing in line, and let's talk about it.
Well, the rural commissioners will meet on the 17th, and if not the rural commission, I'm sorry.
No, that's property standards.
I'm sorry.
So let's, Ms. Vita, if you don't mind, let's get the rural commissioners listed, and let's see if we can. You are the chairman of that, and let's see if we can get a date issued to get this thing going. Because I'll be honest with you, I'd like to see this go through as far as by the time the meeting gets here, everybody has their questions answered. Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Well, let's see. I've got Mr. Lynn. I'm sorry, sir.
I just wanted to thank Commissioner Smith for pulling that, and I know that I don't have any area in the rural district, but it means a lot to me to better understand this.
We didn't pull it. We just.
Or not to pull it, excuse me, to bring it to say.
Mr. Thibodeau.
Yeah, why are we waiting 30 days before we could vote on this?
Grubbs.
Mr. Thibodeau, because the parish charter says that ordinances have to be, that 14 days, not less than 14 days have to elapse between introduction and final passage, and now we only have 13.
Well, I know that. I know. We're just doing it right.
That's all.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
You're going to have to move your parliamentarian around the other side. Y'all talk too much.
I'm sorry. Coach says we talk too much. Okay, what would I do without you two guys? Mr. Epperson.
Mr. Chairman, I disagree with this now. We got 30 days where we can act on it. There's plenty of time for any individual, whether they're a rural commissioner, urban commissioner, whatever it is, to make up their mind and have some amendments together or whatever way they want to vote within 30 days. I think we're setting a bad precedence here. Each time someone doesn't agree with something, that we defer it to some committee. There isn't any. Of course, we have the option by a majority vote, basically, to do anything. Anyone can bring up a motion, but I don't think that arbitrarily that we can go just based upon your discretion to say we'll put that to a committee. I think maybe if the individual proponent of that particular piece of legislation would agree to that, we can do it. But I think there's ample time for us to contemplate any changes that we might want to make to this within this 30-day period of time, and then when the time comes to act upon that publicly, we can make that amendment, or we can vote it up or down, whatever our pleasure is. So I would think that we, basically we went back to this just to answer some questions, because I had some questions. I think Mr. Jenkins had some questions. And of course, it's going against the norm, but this is an extraordinary day because we're doing the work session as well as the regular meeting within that period of time. So we're kind of going away from the norm, but I think we have ample time to make up our minds and speak with the proponent of this particular ordinance, and I'm pretty sure if it's agreeable, he'll be amenable to some changes or whatever, which I think at that particular time when it comes to vote on it, we can do that.
Okay, sir. Mr. Escadade.
I agree with Mr. Epperson's remarks. He's right on all counts, but certainly, as it stands at this point, it is really up to the chairman of the Rural Commissioners Committee as to whether or not he wants to call a meeting and approach this subject between now and then, and I'm sure that'll either happen or it won't. Up to him. Thank you.
Mr. Thibodeau.
My understanding is it's still on the agenda. All we did was a decision was made that the Rural Committee could discuss it.
Exactly.
So it's still it's still available to be voted on in 30 days.
Exactly.
It hasn't been removed and then handed to the committee, so it's still on our agenda.
Correct. Okay, Mr. Smith and Mr. Pearson.
I think my question has been answered, Mr.
Okay,
Costa.
Mr. Pearson.
Will a recommendation from the Rural Committee come to the full body to be voted on?
If one's made.
It's made by the Rural Commissioner Committee Chairman.
Yeah,
we have our chairman here and he's scratching his head, so.
I'm gonna talk to Mr. Smith. If he doesn't mind, then we'll call a committee meeting.
Okay.
He says no, then I would think we won't, and then we'll vote on it and call it next meeting.
Okay.
Don't say no today, Smith.
Mr. Smith?
Mr. Smith is very agreeable with our esteemed colleagues.
Which ones? I'm going this way, I'm going the other way.
Let me take this opportunity to ask the Rural Commissioner Chairman, Mr. Dominic, to go ahead and get that meeting and send out notices for those who would like to attend that are outside the committee, but have it publicly notified.
We'll do that. I'll get Ms. Vita Monday. Ms. Vita, if you'll call me Monday, we can get that set up.
Okay. Any other discussion on this? Now, Mr. Spears is going to have to tell me, did we have a motion? Or we were just discussing that?
Motion was to discuss this.
Motion to discuss. Okay.
There's nothing else on the agenda.
All right. Now we have old business. Mr. Spears?
None on the agenda, I believe, sir.
New business. I think we have Mr. Jenkins. First off, Mr. Pearson. Then Mr. Jenkins. Then Mr. Epperson.
I don't have anything.
Okay. Your name's still up here. Mr. Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Ways and Means Committee met earlier this afternoon to discuss matters relative to a state lobbyist, and there were two recommendations that is coming from the Ways and Means Committee that we want to present to the body today for some action. The first is that the commission would maintain Ms. Jo Rose as state lobbyist, that there would be a contract period beginning February 1st, 2008 through January 31st of 2009. And this is to be a written contract with Ms. Rose with specifics as to goals and compensation, detailed billing requirements. That would be the first recommendation that we bring before the body. The second recommendation is that the administration will provide quarterly reports on our state and federal lobbyists as to the amounts of funds that we're expending and the accomplishments that are being made by those lobbyists on the goals that we have established. So those are the two recommendations that are coming before the body. We wanted some action to be taken on it today, if that's appropriate, Mr. President.
Okay.
I sort of make a motion that the recommendations coming from the Ways and Means Committee be adopted.
We have a motion. We have a motion
And a second.
and a second. I was just listening to Mr. Dominic. We have a motion for the state lobbyists to have the dates of February 1st through 2008, all the way to January 1st, 31st.
January 31st of 2009. This be pursuant to a written contract, Mr. President.
Okay, and we got a we got a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? Ready, Ms. Vita? If not, please vote. And that passes. I'm not even going to ask why.
Then there's a second part to this, Mr. President. The motion is that the administration will provide quarterly reports on our state and federal lobbyists as to amounts that have been expended on them and the accomplishment of the goals that are being set by them.
Second.
Okay, got a motion by second. Any discussion on that motion? If not, please vote.
For Ms. Vita. Gotta wait till she come up. No, it's not.
It's thinking, I guess.
It's not up. I gotta wait. It'll come up.
Okay, you're
There
ready.
we go. Please vote, please.
It's supposed to be fast.
Okay. Then go and press it and it'll say yes right up there where it says.
Yeah, okay.
And that passes. All right. Ms. Vita, I still show Mr. Pearson, Mr. Jenkins, Mr. Epperson, Ms. Lynch on my request to speak.
Mr.
Well,
Jenkins,
said
I don't
move
have
it
any.
on.
I don't have any.
Mr. Epperson. Mr. Epperson, you.
Excuse me. Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. That's my gas bill around.
We're all sitting around here scratching our head, you know.
Got this hat.
I said, is that all?
No, I would. Actually, I would just like to bring up some new business, just food for thought. Maybe at a future meeting, if I might.
Is it on your gas bill?
It's on all the citizens that has a gas bill. Okay. All right. Okay, without exception, it's okay, Mr. Chairman?
To enlarge the agenda. You need
Yeah,
to get a vote
we
for
have
the
to have
record.
a vote of 2/3 to enlarge the agenda for that. So,
Well, let's vote it.
you already voted? Ms. Vita?
Motion to enlarge the agenda.
You have to enlarge the agenda to recognize.
Okay. We can do it. Gas bill, do we?
And that passes.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Chair. Actually, what I was looking at, if you all will see on your CenterPoint Energy Arkla gas bill, there's a customer charge of $10. I've contacted CenterPoint, and everybody I spoke with, they just chuckle and laugh. They say that's $10 for making your bill out. I say, well, why should I have to pay you $10 to make a bill out, and you automatically deduct my gas payment automatic from a checking account, plus I get an e-bill. So why should I be charged? So basically what I was hoping that we might think about in the future is a resolution from this body, which that comes to $120 a year. And every time I call a customer service, I email the company, they won't even respond to my email, and everybody just laugh. They say, wait, that's $10 somebody stuck on your bill. So I would like see if this body maybe in the future would do a resolution to the Public Service Commissioner to ask him why does CenterPoint charge us $10 to be a customer, and especially individuals that get electronic bills. Most places where you do electronic bills, paperless bill, you save money. And when they do send the bills out, it's full of a lot of junk you don't want. So I think this is an issue that we should send a resolution to our PSC Commissioner, Mr. Campbell, and probably our state legislative delegates too. I see on the governor's agenda he's going to be rescinding some taxes. Am I right, Mr. Lynn?
Yes, correct.
So I mean, our customers certainly could enjoy $120 savings a year for no earthly reason that I see, except they can do it.
Put in the gas tank.
Yeah.
By the end of the year, that'll be a tank of gas.
Gas us.
Commissioner
On
Mears,
my bills, 2 bills.
sure I appreciate him helping us out.
That's one at a time.
Side, Ken.
All right, but that's what I want to do. I did, you know, but that's a concern to me and a lot of other people.
Yeah, help me out.
I would like to make a comment that I've been wanting to get Mr. Foster Campbell here to talk to us during our work session once. I've been here 5 years now, and he is yet to come talk on certain issues. And we have a railroad crossing that we've been talking about for 2 years now out at our industrial park. And the Chamber of Commerce is looking for answers too. So I would entertain and ask that the administration get with Foster Campbell and see when's a good time for him to come to one of our work sessions. And we have a few issues that we would like to discuss with him. How's that, Mr. Epperson?
I will second that motion, Mr. President, if that's a motion.
That's just a courtesy to the administration. Okay. Didn't have to make a motion. I have Ms. Lynch.
I just needed to go back to our work session where we engloboed ordinance number 4754 and moved it to our regular agenda. But actually, it's not showing on the regular agenda because it should have been pulled on the work session agenda as well as the regular agenda. So that 4754 is just a cleanup. I'll let you know that that's not. It shouldn't have been on the work session agenda. I don't know if we have to
understand what she's talking about, Mr. Spears? Ms. Vita?
4754. I don't know if we.
Okay, our clerks is shaking their heads, so they understand.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Ms. Lynch was the last one on the board. Anyone else?
Mr. President, I wanted to tell Mr. Epperson that what he was talking about, that sure sound like a good class action lawsuit. I'm taking clients. You come by and see me and Mr. Nick after this meeting.
We don't want to solicit that on the news. You know, you have Bobby General coming up here talking to you. Ms. McCullough?
Reminder.
Commissioner Epperson, thanks for helping us out. I appreciate it. I need all I can get.
Thank you.
Mr. Spears, you had something?
Just a reminder about helping that poor girl out on that flower bill.
Not a problem. If any of our commissioners can, after the meeting, get with Mr. Spears on that floor bill, we sure would appreciate it. So as of now, we did good work. 2 hours. This meeting adjourned.
We'll just, there'll have to be a motion.
Wait a minute. Here's what you're going to do.
I apologize. He's already working with the postal supervisor, Linda, to do this for me.
Hey, darling.
Hey.
What you got?
They gotta do, out there if they can, and get just, if it's someone from Parish-wide, give me a heads up.